Alright, so this is going to be the Chapter 5 little formative review video. So this is just going to kind of help refresh you because we've been doing this chapter for roughly a month now, and it goes back to before Thanksgiving. So you should have a blank sheet of paper out, okay? And we are going to do this. You're going to try this. So I'm going to give you the instructions here, and then I'll try to say pause it, and then you're going to try it, and then you're going to kind of grade yourself. Okay, so let me set this up. I didn't feel like writing out what all the instructions will say. You're going to have one just like this on the formative and the summative. Okay, basically, here we have a fruit salad recipe. Okay, and this recipe that's given, this would be what I would call the fake ratio. Okay, so this is what's going to be given to you, and I'm just going to show it in table form. So for my recipe, it makes enough food for 16 people, and it calls for 8 strawberries. It calls for 12 grapes, and it calls for 16 oranges. Okay, that's what the fruit salad calls for. Okay, so what you're going to have to do on the test tomorrow is you are going to have to then figure out this, like say this is number 1. The question was, and I didn't write it all out, so listen closely. The question is going to say, I want to make this same recipe for 8 people. Okay, so basically it's going to change your amounts of grapes and oranges and strawberries. Okay, so that's the whole point. So what we're going to do is this is just ratio tables. This is learning target number 1. So if you need to look back to the learning target number 1 practice or the notes, there's one just like this in your practice. This is LT number 1. Okay, and basically we're just going to go ahead and put 8 in there. Okay, and then from here it's pretty easy. Just ask yourself, what are you doing to your number of people? Well, I know that I would be dividing my people by 2. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know where I left off. Basically, question number 1 is going to say, what I want you guys to try to do right now is I want you to try to figure out how many of each ingredient I would need if I only wanted to make the recipe for 8 people. So I would like you to try that now. Now, you can draw the table if you want to, or just kind of say I would need this many strawberries, this many grapes, this many oranges. So pause and try. Okay, hopefully you've already done this, but if I'm looking at my number of people, I can see that I'd be dividing my number of people by 2. Well, if you're dividing your number of people by 2, then you're going to do the same thing to all your ingredients. You're going to do that same rule, because that's what ratio tables do. You are going to be able to, you're getting a rule that you have to follow, because we're making an equivalent recipe. So that means we would have 4 strawberries, we would have 6 grapes, and we would have 8 oranges. Okay, now what question number 2 is going to say is, now it's going to say, okay, I want to do that same recipe, but now I want to serve 24 people. So once again, I would like you guys to go ahead and try to tell me on your blank piece of paper, go ahead and figure out how many strawberries, grapes, and oranges you'd need for 24 people. Okay, hopefully you've already done it, but again, it's all about what you're doing to your number of people. And I can see that I am multiplying my number of people by 3. So that's what I got to do to all my ingredients from here. So I know 4 times 3 is going to be 12 strawberries. 6 times 3 is going to give me 18 grapes. And then I'm going to need 24 oranges. Okay? So pretty simple there, but it's just a ratio table. Like I said, there's one of these just like this in your practice section in the learning target number 1 practice that you can refer to. But you can always go back and watch this again. But if I wanted to add another box on here and I wanted to say, okay, how much of each ingredient would I need to serve 4 people? Do that. Then I'm looking at it going, okay, I would be dividing my number of people by 6. So I would do that same thing to each ingredient. So 12 divided by 6 would be 2. 18 divided by 6 would be 3. 24 divided by 6 would be 4. And I could figure out any amount of people that I need to serve, because if I only got 8 people at my house, I don't need to make it for 16 people. Okay? So there will be one just like that on your formative tomorrow. I just wanted everybody to be aware of it. Okay? Okay, here's the next. Whoop, where'd it go? Sorry, hang on one second. Okay, here's the next one that's going to be just like, you're going to have one just like this on your formative. Okay, exactly like this. Okay, it's going to give you some information. Okay, in the computer lab, there are tables and chairs. Okay, that's all there are in this room, is there are tables and chairs. The ratio of tables to total furniture is 4 to 9. So right there is going to be my fake ratio. Now you guys know whenever you're given a fake ratio, I want you to always do your edge pieces. Okay? So I would like you guys to pause, try to do your edge pieces real quick. Okay? So hopefully I already did your edge pieces, but you just know that order matters when you are when you're doing ratios. So tables comes first, so that means 4 must go with tables. Okay? And it says the ratio of tables to total, so that means 9 must be a total. I like to put it at the bottom because I have my part, and then I have my whole here. Okay? Now remember, every fake ratio is going to give you 3 edge pieces, or 3 pieces of information. Okay? So when I look at this, I know that, okay, if I have a room, if this were my room right here, and I'll just show them with dots, and I know that there are 9 dots. Each dot is representing a piece of furniture. That's 8, and we'll put one right there. If I know that 9 total pieces of furniture, I know that 4 of them are tables. So if I went through and put T's on every dot, how many do I have remaining? Those 5 remaining must all be chairs, because you only have chairs and tables in there. So that means my other edge piece is going to be 5 chairs. Okay? Now on the test, I'm going to ask you to give me the ratio of chairs to tables. I'm going to ask you to do that. So you're going to have to do that. And if you did that now, it would be 4 to 5. I'm sorry. Whoops. Jeez. Order matters. Chairs got to come first. That's going to be 5 to 4. Okay, if I asked you for tables to total, you'd put 4 to 9. If you did chairs to total, you'd put 5 to 9. If I would have said tables to chairs, you would do 4 to 5. Okay, so just be real careful. But that's chapter 4 stuff. So I'm not going to cover that too much in this video, but you will have to do it tomorrow. Okay. All right. Number 1, I'd like you guys to go ahead and try to do this with a proportion on your own. Okay? Hopefully you've already done it. Remember, this is how we always start our proportions. So if you didn't do it this way, you need to make the correction on your own. First thing you're going to do is you're going to make your proportion. Now remember, everything we've done with proportions thus far, we've always put labels on them first. So I go to what I call my real information. Okay, remember, the real information always is going to probably start with the word if. If this, then how many of this? Okay, it's always going to give you some piece of real information to use. Okay? And then it's going to ask you for a specific piece of information. Now, I see that it is giving me a total, a real total. Now, we know that real information always goes in the second ratio. Fake information always goes in the left ratio. That's how we've learned it this whole entire time. Okay, that's been our go-to thing for the last month and a half here. We've always referred to this as our fake. We've always referred to this as our real. Okay, so we've got to start building with labels. Now I see that this is giving me a total. So I know that's going to be one piece of my proportion, or one label. Okay, now because total should always be in the second term of a ratio, we'd want to put our total down here. Now you want to be real careful just putting T though, and make this correction on yours, because we have tables and total. So you don't want to get confused there. So maybe putting TOT or just writing it out, however you want to do it. I don't really care. Just know that tables and tables and total, you just can't put T. It could get confusing. So they gave me a total, 36 total pieces of furniture, and it's asking me for chairs. Those are my only 3 labels that I could have had. My edge pieces will always just have the labels that I can use. The labels here are tables, chairs, or total. That's all there is. Okay? So I know that we're looking for an amount of chairs, so I'm going to put chairs and chairs. Okay? Now that we've done all the labels, we've got everything kind of set up, now we are going to go ahead and start putting our fake information and our real information in place. So I go this. Notice I put them as the same color, just for you guys, so you could kind of identify it with colors. My fake ratio I get from my edge pieces. I look at it and I say, okay, that's going to be 5 chairs to 9 total. Pretty easy. Just refer straight from there. I see a total. I see the chairs. There's my fake ratio. And then I'm going to have to go back to my real, and I say, okay, well, what did they give me? Did they give me an actual amount of chairs, or did they give me a total? And hopefully you guys would all be saying, well, they gave me a total. Okay? Now, you know there are 2 ways to solve every proportion. Now this one, maybe you could just simply see that, oh, well, 9 times 4 would give me 36. So that means 5 times 4 is 20. You could do it that way. But some of you, with your math facts, you guys struggle a little bit. So this is an opportunity where you've done all the work. You've done what I expect you to know how to do. Now it's okay if you want to go ahead and cross multiply and divide. I'm okay with that. So you're going to multiply the two numbers that are diagonal from each other and then divide by the other number. That's going to give me 20 chairs. So my answer is 20. Okay? Go ahead and try the next one on your own. Okay? So first thing I'm going to do is draw my proportion. No, I shouldn't be putting any numbers on this proportion or at all. We start with labels first. So I say if, okay, that's obviously my real information. If there are 30 chairs, then how many tables are there? So right now, I know that my two labels here that I identified are going to be the two labels in the proportion. So chairs and tables. Chairs and tables. Notice how I did TAB instead of just T. Okay, just so I don't get confused. Now, fake ratio, I get that from up here. I know that the fake ratio is going to be that there are 5 chairs for every 4 tables. Okay? Then, I just look and say, what did they give me? And I just match the number with the label. I'm going to go ahead and put 30 there. From here, I can just cross multiply, and I can divide, and I'm going to get 24 tables. Okay? Hope you're seeing how I'm doing that. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay? You can go back to the learning target number 5 and 6 video with any questions on that, but those we did several like that with marble. I think we did one with colors of marbles. We did one with boys and girls of a class. We did some different things, but it's the same thing. Fake ratio, edge pieces, proportion with labels, fake ratio from here, put your real information on there, cross multiply, divide. Okay? Okay, now here we go. Here's another one where this one's very similar to the one before that. Okay, we'll go ahead and do it. So actually, I would like you to pause and try it on your own. Okay, so think about this. If Mr. Zinker makes 3 out of every 15 total free throws, that right there is your, I'm sure you guys are saying it to the computer right now. You're saying, why am I writing free throws? That is your fake ratio, or what some of us call it, the fratio. Okay? So, if I want to, I can do, I'd like you to always do edge pieces. Well, if I know he makes 3, and I know he took 15 total, again, I can subtract to find a part, always, because remember, part, whole, I know that he must have missed 12 of them. Because if you add your makes and misses, it'll give you a total amounts shot. So, here we go. Going to be a proportion. Read the question. That's always going to contain the real information. Right there's your real information in green. How many free throws did he shoot? Now, this might confuse some of you. Which one of the... I don't see shoot down here. So maybe that gets a little challenging, but think about it. When you shoot the basketball, you can either make it or miss it. So wouldn't that go with total? Yes, it would. So we know that one of our labels we're going with is total. And total, and then it wants to know if he how many free throws did he shoot if he made 72. So there's our other label. There's our makes, and there's a makes. Fake ratio comes from the edge pieces. This is our fake ratio. Comes from here. What is the ratio of makes to total? It is 3 to 15, just like they gave us perfectly in the fake ratio. I go ahead and put 72 there because we're talking about 72 makes. Cross multiply and divide, and there's your answer. Okay, that is going to be 3 times 24 and 15 times 24, and that's going to be 360. And again, you could have done that by simply cross multiplying and then dividing as well. It doesn't matter. It would give you 360 regardless. Okay? Okay, I do want to do one of these. I'll do this one and then you'll try one. This is the ones that get kind of hard for some people. Okay, Mr. Garrison's truck can travel at a speed of 240 miles in 3 hours. How far can the race car, or my truck, travel in 8 hours? Now, here's the key, guys. This is what you got to be real careful of tomorrow on the formative and the summative. If I specifically say this, then you got to know that I want to see that unit rate in there. And if you don't show me the unit rate, then I'm going to count it half off. Or I'm probably going to count it wrong. I'm going to count it wrong in the formative. Because I specifically want to test your knowledge of unit rate. Okay? So, whenever you see use unit rate to solve, you got to know right away that you're going to be dealing with two proportions. Okay? Because unit rate's going to be its own proportion, and then the other one's going to be actually answering the question. Okay? So, I know that my fake ratio is going to be right here, or my fratio. That's my fake right there. Okay? So we know that I'm traveling 240 miles in 3 hours. Now, one thing you always want to do is you always want to put your labels first. Now, remember, when we're talking rates, we always want to do miles per hour. We want to put miles on top. It wouldn't really change your answer, so to speak. Well, actually, it will, because we always got to have 1 in the bottom right. But you always want to make sure it's miles per hour. Okay? And it's going to be the same thing over here. Nothing changes. We're just kind of setting everything up. Miles is supposed to be MI, I believe. Okay? An hour. Okay? Now, we know that this first ratio here, that's got to be our unit rate ratio. So I'm going to show that in pink. I've tried to show like unit rates in pink all year so that you guys can kind of see it. So unit rates in pink. Remember, fake ratios are always in yellow. Real ratios are always in green. And then we got to do pink again for unit rate because we're going to use that unit rate twice. So basically, the first proportion, you are finding the unit rate of how, okay, I traveled 240 miles in 3 hours. How far did I travel in 1 hour? That's a unit rate. This is chapter 4 right here. But then taking the unit rate and applying it to answer a question, that's chapter 5. So this you've already mastered. You've proven that you know how to do that. Now we just took it a step further in chapter 5. So we just put our fake information on there, 240 miles in 3 hours. What am I doing to my number of hours? Dividing by 3. What am I doing to my number of miles then? Dividing by 3. That's going to be 80 miles per hour. Now, real quick, could you also cross multiply and divide? Absolutely. Absolutely you could. Okay? Now we're going to take that and we are going to take that unit rate. Because if we know how far I traveled in 1 hour, then it's easy. I could figure out any amount of hours, 10 hours, 50 hours, 100 hours. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to put real there. So that's going to be 8. And then it's easy. Then it's just times 8. Times 8 is going to be 640 miles. So there's your answer. That's how far I can travel in 8 hours. Okay? So I hope you're all seeing the difference. Whereas before, if it didn't say, if that wasn't there, you would just have done this. 240 miles over in 3 hours. How far is that in 8 hours? And then you would have said, oh, I'm going to cross, multiply, and divide, and you would have gotten 640. Now you're doing this step where you're finding the unit rate to solve. Okay? Okay, I would like you guys to go ahead and try this boat question right here. Make sure you follow the instructions. Use unit rate to solve. Okay, so again, you know you're going to need two proportions. One finding the unit rate, one using the unit rate to find the unknown. So we know we're doing miles and gallons, miles and gallons, miles and gallons, miles and gallons. I put my fake ratio on there, which is right there. 60 miles using 12 gallons. My unit rate, 1 always goes there. You could cross multiply divide, or just know that you're dividing by 12. So then you got to do 60 divided by 12 in that order. You're going to get 5 miles per gallon. Then I'm going to take that 5 miles per gallon, and I want to see how far I can go on 100 gallons. Times 100 would be 500. Okay? So then that would be your answer. Okay? Same thing as I showed you before real quick. If we would have done this before, we would have done miles, gallons, miles, gallons. If it didn't say use unit rate to solve, then you would have just done this. And you would cross, multiply, and divide. And that would give you 500. Okay? So you just got to understand, it's just one extra step. It's finding a unit rate and then applying the unit rate. Finding it, applying it. Finding it, applying it. It's the only difference. Okay? Okay? This one here, I'll just do one because we just did this the other day, so I don't think there's any issues here. That word, just keep in mind that unit price is the cost per one of the object. So you've already seen this. You've already worked with this. This should be no different right now. The thing you've got to remember, if I give you this on a test, which I'm giving you on the test, you have to know that I must see that many proportions. So I need a proportion for each one of these. So I'll just show you one. We'll just do oranges here. Okay? I know that money always has to go on top when I'm doing a proportion for unit price, because we want to know the cost per one of the items. So in this case, per orange. So my fake ratio is that it's $3.50 for 7 oranges. And then you just divide 7, or cross multiply and divide. You will learn that it is 50 cents. Well, let's just talk about that. $0.5, you got to add on that 0. A lot of you are struggling with that. So if I ask for the unit price there, the unit price would be 50 cents, but you must show the proportion. Okay? Then when you get down to this one, you know that if you know, like, I'll just make up numbers here on this one just to review it real quick. Let's say that it was 10 cents per plum, and you knew it was 20 cents per pear. Okay? If I'm buying 12 plums and I know that the unit price is 10 cents per plum, then I'm just going to do a proportion and say, okay, well then how much would 12 plums cost? Okay? How much would 5 pears cost? You guys see what I'm doing there? So if you did that, you would do times 12 times 12 times 5 times 5, and then whatever you got here and here, you would just add those together. I think we did pretty well on that, so I don't think I need to talk too much about it. Okay? Here's a better buy question. Okay? I'll just quickly just talk about it so this doesn't run over. I'll let you guys just listen a little bit. Okay? Cereal A, or a 16-ounce box of mac and cheese at Walmart is $5.60. So this is Walmart. Okay, at Kroger's having a sale for a 20-ounce box for $6.20. Okay, so we got to be real careful and read. It says which store is offering the better deal per ounce. So in this one, it tells you that it wants you to find the unit rate per ounce. So ounces have got to be on the bottom. If it had said which store is offering the better deal per dollar, then you would have done dollars on the bottom. Okay, but it didn't. It says per ounce, and that's the unit price, and that's the one we're used to using, so it shouldn't be any different. Okay, so I know we're talking about ounces, dollars, dollars on top, ounces, dollars. My fake ratio for Walmart is going to be $5.60 for 16-ounce box. I know that the what's this, Kroger, they are offering it for $6.20, but you're getting a little more. Okay, so you go ahead and you got to find the unit rate here, so you could cross multiply and divide, or just know that you're dividing by 16 to both top and bottom. So $5.60 divided by 16 is going to give me 35 cents per ounce. Okay. Over here, I know that I'm dividing by 20, so it's going to be 6.20 divided by 20. It's going to be 31 cents. Okay, so based on that alone right there, I think it's pretty easy to see that this would be the better deal. Kroger is technically, you're getting more per ounce, you're spending less per ounce at Kroger than you would at Walmart. So you would want to buy the one from Kroger, obviously. So pretty simple there. It's learning target number 8. So nothing new there. This one, how much will you save per ounce? Well, whenever you're asking about savings, you're going to do just 35 cents minus 31 cents, and you would learn that you would save 4 cents by choosing Kroger over Walmart. Remember, that would be 4 cents per ounce, choosing Kroger over Walmart. Okay? Okay, one last thing I want to look at here real quick. Modeling. Actually, I don't want to look at that model. Real quick, we did these, but let's just do one real quickly here. Just remember, always start with a proportion, and then you just put your labels on, some milliliters to liters, liters to milliliters, and you put your fake information here. That will all be provided for you on the test, so don't even worry. I know that 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters, and then I go ahead and put 3 on there. It's times 3 times 3 3,000. Just making sure everybody's clear though. You could always just cross multiply and divide. Same thing. Okay? Okay, just a reminder on how to model real quick. I'll go real quick on this because I know it's getting a little bit long. Okay? I have several blue and gold marbles in a bag. The ratio of blue to gold is 8:3. So the model will be provided for you on the test. So as you can see, I did 8 boxes of representing the blues. I did 4. What'd I do? That should be. Sorry. Uh-oh. I think I did something wrong here. So that should be, blue to gold should be 8:3. Okay, hang on. Just let me add one on there to make sure I get this right. Alright, close enough. You guys get the picture. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 3. Okay, now, this model will be provided. Then you're going to be given some real information, just like you would have been in the proportions questions. So, if there are, oh, I know what I did. Okay, I see it now. This up here is supposed to be for number 3. So that's why that was there. Jeez. Very, very sorry. Okay, let's start from there. Forget what I said up here. This is proportions up here. Don't worry about that. You can do those if you want to, but okay. So the model below shows the ratio of boys to girls is 7:4. Complete the ratio model to answer the questions below. So, here comes the real information. If there are 121 total students. So right now, I knew that both bars were representing 121. If it would have said there are 52 boys, then I would have said, okay, this right here is representing 52. If it would have said, if there are 28 girls, then I would do that and say, okay, there's 28 there. Okay? That's what it's all about reading. Okay? But it says total, so that's why all these boxes, all of them, is representing 121. So one thing I like to do is just, I do this in pink every time just because it kind of goes with unit rate, is I always like to remind you guys, the whole goal of bar modeling is to figure out how much one little piece is. If I can figure that out, I can usually figure out, that's the whole thing you got to remember. You're always trying to figure out one. And we know that whenever we're trying to figure out how many in each group or how many groups of, that kind of thing, we're talking about division. So we're going to take 121 and we're going to divide it not by 4, not by 7, but we're going to divide it by 11 because, think about it, we have 121s representing both boys and girls. So we've got to do 121 divided by 11. That's going to give us 11. Okay, so that's going to be 11. So that means 11 in each one of these. You could go through here and write 11 in all. That does not mean there are 11 boys. It means there are 11 in each group. So that means 11 times 7 would give us 88 boys, and it would give us 44 girls. Because 11 times 4 is 44. Okay? All right. The only other thing that I want to just talk about real quick, if I can find it, is I just want to remind everybody, this is pretty easy, but let me... I'll just tell you. You will have to graph. Okay, you will have to graph. I won't put it on here, but you can go back to the Learning Target number 2 video to see exactly how, if you're confused on how to do that. Like this one, you did one like this where you had to, you do a ratio table, and then one of them is an X, one of them is a Y, and that becomes your coordinate, and then you just plot them, and draw a line. So you will have to do that as well. That's Learning Target number 2. So if you need to review that, go back to your notes. It's pretty easy. You guys thought it was pretty easy, I think, if I remember right. So sorry this is so long, but it's worth it if you guys want to do really well on it. See you guys.